Welcome to the Hunnid Yard Football Podcast presented by the Chiefs Focus Network, where you talks about the NFL from end zone to end zone and all Hunnid yards in between. Without further ado, here's you.
Hey, what it do? This is the Hunnid Yard Football Podcast, where my name is you, and I'm talking about the NFL from end zone to end zone and all 100 yards in between. Week 10 has just passed us, and boy, does it have some stuff to talk about. And I'm here to talk about them. And here this goes. But we keep it moving. Got a lot of stuff to talk about in week 10. So we starting to get to the critical time of the season. First of all, week 10 is where you're starting to see the separation of the men from the boys, as it were. Where teams are starting to hit their stride. The good teams. Some of the bad teams are starting to weed themselves out just by their play. You still got a slew of bye weeks to go. So some teams don't have their rest as much as others. But week 10 is a big one. Week 10 is a big one. So let's go. First and foremost, we have, for the bye week, the Ravens, the Patriots, the Jets, and the Bengals have their bye week this week, so we got to say bye-bye to them. They didn't play this week. Week 10, bye weeks. The Ravens, the Baltimore Ravens, the New England Patriots, the New York Jets, and the Cincinnati Bengals. So they're gone. Let's keep it moving. The Thursday night football was, how can I say it best? It was boring. It was not fun to watch, really. This is a division game, NFC South. Not really a great division to watch, but the Carolina Panthers beat the Atlanta Falcons 25-15. Atlanta's 4-6. Carolina's 3-7, and it keeps Carolina in the race to hit the playoffs, to be first in their division. What? Laviska Shenault had that 46-yard touchdown. Now this dude is actually, again, I don't know if you've listened to me long enough, but they linked him to Kansas City, and I thought we would actually get him considering he's a speedster. And you saw him turn on the Jets in that 46-yard touchdown. But the Panthers keep their division hopes alive with this division win. They're like 1.5 games back from the division leader. And last week, in week 9, they let Joe Mixon go ham. They just let him go off for like 4 touchdowns plus 1, 4 rushing touchdowns plus 1 catching touchdown, receiving touchdown. They turned over a new leaf against this team. And you know the Atlanta Falcons love to run, and they only allowed like 33 yards in the first half. So they keyed off against the Atlanta Falcons. Deontay Foreman got over 115 yards for the last 3 games rushing. So Carolina had a plan to attack the run game because you know Atlanta loves to run. Quarterback runs, running back runs, wide receiver runs, everything. So Steve Wilks after this game, Steve Wilks is going to have a huge decision to make on which quarterback he will continue to start for this team. I think the saying goes, if you have more than one quarterback, you have none, which is what the Carolina Panthers situation is. You know, we got Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and one more kid, PJ Walker, I think. And they've started all of them in this season, except for Sam Darnold, if I'm not mistaken. But if you have more than one quarterback, you have none. As far as you don't know which one who's starting, yeah, you don't have any. Steve Wilks has a huge decision to make, and Steve Wilks got a raw deal in Arizona by getting fired after 1 year because they wanted to hire Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona. Steve Wilks could actually coach himself into I won't say permanent, but into a position, a head coach position job in 2023 with whatever decision he makes here. I'm not saying he has to make the playoffs. I'm not saying any of those things. What I am saying is that he needs to make the right decision on who's going to coach. Who's going to lead this team for the rest of 2022, possibly the playoffs. And when I say make the right decision, I'm not saying back and forth and back and forth. You need to make one decision. If they get injured, it happens, whatever. It's a violent game. But you got to make the right decision on who is going to lead this team at the quarterback position. Let's keep it moving. The Munich game in Germany. Seattle Seahawks take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they lose. You know, the Seahawks were rolling for a little bit there, and they run into Tampa, and they lose the game 16-21. Tampa is keeping their hopes alive, and Tom Brady might be getting hot at the right time. They might be ready to make their run. The Seattle Seahawks fall to 6-4, and they just didn't look themselves coming out of the game. It just, to me, it didn't seem right. I'm not saying that they were lethargic or anything like that, but they didn't come out right, in my opinion. Maybe it was the flight, maybe it was something else, but they just didn't come out right, in my opinion, and they ended up losing this game. But in my opinion, it's more for Seattle, it's more how you bounce back after this week. I want to see how they bounce back. And I'm going to say that about another team as well. We'll talk about later. But let's keep it moving. The Miami Dolphins, my goodness, they whoop up on the Cleveland Browns. 39-17. Miami Dolphins, 7-3. Boy. 7-3. Cleveland Browns are 3-6. See, the Cleveland Browns, I was out on Tua. Let's talk about the Dolphins real quick. I was out on Tua too soon. I thought he'd be good coming out of college. But, and then they drafted Waddle, and I thought that would launch him into a better stat line. But sometimes the owners are right, against all odds. Sometimes the owners are right. Tyreek was right, betting on himself. Granted, the Chiefs were willing to pay him big money, but Tyreek wanted all of it. He wanted all the smoke. All of it, and he got it. And he's on pace to get to over 2,000 yards this season. Sometimes owners are right. And in this case, Stephen Ross and that GM situation down there, for this year at least, they were right. Miami Dolphins are 7-3. 7-3. Now, let's go over to the Browns side of the ball. The Browns are imploding. They got a lot of games to play still. But you still got to go after the Baltimore Ravens here. The Steelers are out of it. Mathematically, they're not. But they don't look good. Let's just call a spade a spade. They don't look good. So let's look at that division. Well, the Bengals look like they're trying to make a run. After, this is the bye week, but I think they're coming off a win. Let's see. The Bengals, the Browns, the Steelers, and Baltimore. It's a tough division. The Browns are imploding. I felt like they were trying to, with Jacoby Brissett, they were trying to keep their head above water. Keeping your head over water. No. They were trying to keep their head above water until their $240 million quarterback gets there to save them. But for some reason, they're imploding. Like, the team is not looking good at all. You got the linemen, Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney yapping with each other and talking about they need to execute better and all that kind of stuff. Man, Stefanski has to be on the bubble here. He has to be on the bubble at this point. He was supposed to keep this team afloat until the better talent came around, and he's not doing it. They're 3-6. It's week 10. Week 10. You got 7 more games. Yeah, 7 more games of this. That would make you, let's say if you go undefeated, that would make you 10-6. 10-6, which is fine. But this is not, 3-6 is not what you want to be. You wanted to at least be 500. At the very least, by the time Deshaun got back. And you're not. You have a losing record and you don't look good. Defense is not keeping you up. So much stuff is happening with the Browns that, they thought they would be where Miami is right now. And they're not. Let's keep it moving. The Denver Broncos lose to the Tennessee Titans. The Titans score 17 points. The Broncos scored 10. Titans are 6-3. Broncos are 3-6. So it looked like Russ was starting to feel like his old self again. He threw that 60-yard pass to Sutton, and it looked like he was starting to feel himself again. Feel like himself again. But here comes the fourth quarter. Now, normally, Tennessee is a very disciplined team, but they match a season high in penalties this year so far, and we're only in week 10. They still got 7 more games. So, but still, they started getting after Russ, and they started pressuring him hardcore, and then towards the end of the game, the Denver Broncos folded like a lawn chair. And the Tennessee Titans come out with that win. Wow. I'm not gonna feel sorry for for the Denver Broncos. That's a division. That's in a division opponent. I don't feel sorry for them. But if this keeps rolling, they're gonna have to trade off some parts next season or this offseason. They didn't trade off any before, but they're stuck with Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited. They're stuck with him for a while here. And they can't do anything with the talent they got. So you never know. This offseason, they might be getting rid of KJ Hamler. They might be shipping off Jerry Jeudy. They might be shipping off pieces. We will see. We will see. Don't look now. but the Lions are learning how to have a successful hunt.